Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of our bait shop video series for River Rock Inn and Bait Shop and Hudson's on the Spot Guide Service. So it's the mid part of October, and the first part of October has been very beautiful. I mean, I've never seen temperatures and weather like we've had of all of Octobers that I've been alive anyway. You know, highs in the 80s for a week straight, and you know, it feels more like August. So it's been kind of hard to get into the realm of October fishing, which is usual that we experience out here on Chequamegon Bay and the Apostle Islands. But today the weather's changed, and I'm in the house, and as you can kind of see out my office window here, we have a bit of wind and rain again today. So the weather's changing, and so now I'm changing up my gear and stuff that I'm putting in my boat for some late fall fishing here on Chequamegon Bay. And for late fall fishing, what we want to talk about this month is smallmouth bass. We talk about that quite a bit, but for good reason. It's a really terrific fishery out here from the spring, summer, fall, and winter, and draws a lot of people. And I get a lot of questions, a lot of emails, and the shop gets a lot of calls too about how the bites are and what type of period we're in for the fishing. So right now, the fishing is going to change. We're still kind of in a late summer period out here. Finding, you know, since this warm weather came, a lot of the fish were still in relatively shallow water. You know, I was catching a lot of fish in that 10 to 15 foot range, and they were pretty aggressive, hitting a lot of aggressive techniques, crankbaiting, spinner baiting, throwing rattle traps, just all kinds of a lot of aggressive techniques. But now the water's going to cool. Looks like we got a big, long cold front ahead of us, and you know, colder weather. So the fishing's going to change a little bit. We're going to see a lot of fish move a little bit deeper and start using patterns that are a little bit different than what we were using in the late summer and summer period. So what we're going to talk about for these bass is, one, kind of the locations that we're going to find them. What are they using and what are they doing? And then we're going to talk about the lures that we're going to use to catch them. What can we find at River Rock or that's going to catch them? You know, what are we going to stock in there, and what's going to help you to put these fish in the boat? One thing that I want to mention is that now, once this water gets 55 degrees, even 50 degrees and colder, these fish can be caught a lot more readily on artificial baits than you'd see in the summer. In summer times, a lot of people were just catching a lot of fish on suckers, just good. People using circle hooks, you know, good for catch and release. But you could also catch them on artificials too. But now we're going to see a big switch where these fish are really feeding heavily before the winter time, and where all you got to really use is artificials. So that's what we're going to cover, and what baits do we use to catch them and make it fun where we can catch, you know, 30 to 60 fish a day out here on Chequamegon Bay. The first thing we got to do is we got to find them. Where are we going to look for these fish? And you know, if you fished out here recently in the summertime, there's a lot of key locations that these fish were located on. Everyone has fished the rock pile. Everyone has probably fished the breakwall area, and everyone's probably fished structure off Ashland. Well, the fish don't really move that far. They just kind of slide off into deeper water, and they start using big flats associated with this deeper water. And now deeper water, what I'm talking about is right about 15 feet out to 20 feet. A lot of times those are the fish that I want to concentrate on. You'll sometimes catch fish on steep drop-offs that go into 25 to even 30 feet of water, but a lot of these fish are in that 15 to 20 foot range, and more likely what I find is 18 to just a little over 20 feet of water. Now off the rock pile, there's big flats around that rock pile that these fish push off to, and I'll show you some pictures that I, you know, marked on you know, a map, which is, you know, something that everyone should get when you come here, is just get a good paper map, so then you can sit down and look for these locations. Because when you usually find fish on one type of structure that they were associated with the summertime and late summertime, you can look to other places where they're from and kind of see similar locations and go check and see if they're there. So pick up your map, and you can kind of see on photos here that, you know, here's some spots, some flat areas that kind of key in on or look for these fish. Again, off of the breakwell, there's big flats off of there. Them fish will school up in there. You can see around the Ashland shoreline. There's, you know, big flats around there associated with structure, breaks that are along the shoreline. You'll see where it breaks and then flattens out, or you'll see a break and on top of it it's a flat. A lot of times they'll be there, and then when it gets really cold, then they'll dump down into that deeper water. So a lot of times what I'm concentrating, I concentrate a lot right around Ashland. That's where a lot of the fish come to. So, you know, do a little searching around, use your maps, look for those flat areas in that 15 to 20 foot range. And the one good thing about when you're deeper than 15 feet is you can just graph with your boat and find these fish. You'll see the marks. They'll be schooled up, you know, 5 to 10 fish in school. Sometimes I've seen them more than that. And so when you're cruising around in your boat, you know, mark fish. You know, find fish before you fish them. And, you know, that way you'll find a lot of different hot spots where, you know, other people aren't really fishing. So, you know, those are the areas to check, and those are the areas that you're going to find these fish, deep flats out here on Chequamegon Bay. So now what are we going to use to catch them? And what do we stock at River Rock to provide you guys the best fishing opportunities to catch them? Well, right now, like I said, it's kind of in a different stage where we're right at that late summer period, and those fish will kind of be sitting around those areas still in that little bit shallow water until the water really drops. So right now, you know, for maybe a week, you'll find those fish up there. And what I've been catching a lot of fish on the past few days and weeks have been crankbaits, mainly DT series Rapalas, big DT, basically a DT 10. This is a 10, and they're all marked for the depth they dive to. So a DT 10 all the way to a DT 16 is what I've been using, depending on the depths. I use a low gear ratioed reel, 5:2:1 cranking reel, so I don't really get the maximum depth out of this because I'm reeling them a little bit slow and pausing them. But for the most part, I would say this 14 will dive to about 12, 10 about 8, and then the 16 about 14. I usually take about 2 feet. But these have been really hot. Perch has been good. Gold has been good. And some crawdad colors, such as this, have been good. They make a different color, a bunch of different colors for crawdads. But there's a lot of different companies that make deep diving crankbaits. Deep diving minnow baits have been working too, like deep husky jerks, deep X-wraps, stuff like that as well. And these will work right up to ice up too, because sometimes a fish will come off the bottom. So don't always put these away once the water drops below 55 and 50 degrees. Also, right now I've been using a lot of big spinner baits. I think this is a Booyah bait. Nope, this is a Strike King, but Strike King and Booyah all make big, heavy spinner baits. I actually use these all the time, actually. But this one, an ounce. I use a lot of 3/4 to 1.5 ounce spinner baits. White and chartreuse is a really good color, and also these kind of crawdad, bluegill type colors. Willow blades, I like willow blades the best out here. And what I do is I slow roll them. Again, cast them out and slowly reel them. You know, get them down into that depth range and let the fish catch up to them, and you know, they eat them. They hit them hard, and it's fun catching them on. But right now, that's what I'm catching a lot of these fish on. And so now, as we progress, we're going to start moving towards fishing on the bottom a lot more, using a lot of stuff that crawls on the bottom or that we can pop off the bottom. And my go-to is a tube jig. I use a lot of 3.5 inch tube jigs, but I use heavy tubes, 3/8 ounce or bigger. A lot of times I'm using 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce heads inside of those tubes and working them long. They want to mimic crayfish or sculpins that are out here. So get yourself some tube jigs and get yourself some 3.5 tubes. Yum makes a good tube. Northland Tackle makes a good tube. that all works in here. But 3.5 seems about the right size to use. Another thing on the bottom, another one of my deadliest lures that I use for smallmouth is this Kalen's Ultimate Swim Jig, is what it's called. I partner that with Gulp 4-inch minnows. I let it fall to the bottom and I just pop it off the bottom. Keep on popping it as you come back to the boat, but making bottom contact. Again, these fish are bottom orientated. They're on craws and they're on sculpins, stuff that are on the bottom when that water gets cold like that. And then again, with that, a lot of people use football head jigs. I use these. You know, a lot of good companies make football head jigs. Put a trailer on it. You can use a craw. You can use, you know, any. I mean, they make so many different types of trailers. But the one good thing about these is they're heavy, 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce. They get down deep fast, and you can feel as you're moving along the bottom. A lot of times you move it, you feel something on the bottom. Hold it there and just shake it. And a lot of times then the fish will come up and investigate and grab it at that time. But these football head jigs with the trailer on it work really good. As the water gets below 50 degrees and below, I use a lot of jigging spoons. Jigging spoons are key for catching these fish out here. Well, for me anyway, it's just fun throwing a jigging spoon out and working it across the bottom. And what I found is Northland buckshot spoons, 3/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce, are the most deadly spoons I found out here. The rattle makes a lot of sense for, you know, creating disturbance on the bottom and calls fish in. Natural colors work the best, and they got great holographic colors that you know, call the fish in and seal the deal when they come in. But a lot of times when the water's 50 degrees and under, this is basically what all I have on. Jigging spoons, awesome way to catch these fish. And the last technique that I'm going to actually show you how to rig up, and something that I've been using a lot lately, is drop shotting. Not a lot of people use it out here, but when those fish school up in the fall, again, you can sit right over top of them because I can graph them and pick off 1, 2, 3, 4 fish in a school just by seeing them on my graph. So staying vertical, you know, with a jigging spoon is awesome. And another great way to stay vertical is with these with the drop shots. So you can put a lot of different things on a drop shot. You can use minnow imitators. You can use worms imitators. You can use goby. Well, out here, sculpin imitators. Everything under the sun you can put on that drop shot hook to try to get that fish to bite, which includes live bait. And one of the ways to get really good at drop shotting and get confidence in drop shotting is to use live bait. A lot of people, new technique, it's hard for them to do because they don't have confidence. Put a sucker minnow on there and see that, you know, these fish actually do that and get the confidence to work that bait. Basically all it is using your rod and staying vertical right over them fish, or even dragging it a little as you come back to the boat. But you know, it's to keep that bait in place for a while and just shake it there. Let the bait do the work. Finesse technique, and get those fish to bite. So I'll show you. We'll end this video of me showing you how to tie up a drop shot rig. And basically, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to use it straight off of the spool of line I've got here that I've been spooling up my line with, my rods with. 8-pound test is usually what I use. What I like to do is I like to use 8-pound test Fireline crystal as my main line, and then I blood knot in a piece of fluorocarbon about 7-8 feet, and that gives me a lot more feel in that deeper water, and I can really feel them fish hit a lot better. But for this purpose, we'll just use this line. I use an octopus style hook. Mustad makes a really good hook. It's called the double wide fine wire live bait hook. I use 1/0 or 1/0 or size 1 hooks. So basically what you want to do is take your hook and you're going to do a Palomar knot. So this is the rod tip side of the line and this is your tag end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to keep my hook point towards the top of the rod. I'm just going to feed it through this way. I'm going to pull it up for quite a ways because I want a big tag end. Because basically what the drop shot is it keeps the weight on the bottom and your hook suspended. So then you just take that tag end again and you come back through that hook just like we're gonna make a Palomar knot. So you bring that up like this. You make an overhand knot in that line, and then you bring that hook through that loop, and you wet it, and you just tighten it. So now that hook is going to be suspended on the line, and you're going to have your tag end down here. So now your line is suspended onto your tag end like that. You can kind of see where that hook is, and then from there on the tag end you're just gonna take your weight, cylinder weight like this, or you can just use split shot and add it to the bottom. I use a cylinder weight or just a mushroom head weight that's specifically made for drop shots. Got a little clip on the end where you can then come back to your tag end, and then you can add that weight wherever you want. A lot of times it's, I like to put it a foot or 6 inches from that line, from the hook. And all that does is, you see I put it through the line like that, and then I can just secure it by pulling it up, and now it won't come out. And now that's the weight on the bottom. So you got that, and then your hook is up here, suspended with your line, with your bait on it, I should say, and now you're catching fish. And you can adjust how far up and down you put that weight and how far up your bait is from the bottom. I use out here anywhere from 6 inches to a foot. So pretty easy to drop shot. Minnow will fit on there, just nose hook it, or any type of plastic that looks good that you think will catch them. Them 4-inch minnows or 3-inch minnows work really good. Northland Tackle makes a good drop shot plastic. A lot of companies do now, but it's deadly out here, and especially in the fall you're going to catch a lot of fish on it. So that's kind of the tip of the month for catching a lot more fish out here in Chequamegon Bay for smallmouth. So until next month, where we're going to go into ice fishing. It's getting cold, and that's my favorite time of year. So we'll see you on the water, and have a great month fishing here in October and catch lots of bass.